Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 185th episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. Returning to one of those dudes who continuously pushes himself and the genre forward with each release. We have someone I've covered a few times on the channel before, but I can definitely guarantee it's nowhere near the last. So far, I've technically only covered solo Billy Woods releases, like 2012's History Will Absolve Me or 2015's Today I Wrote Nothing, which is his magnum opus in my opinion. While some of his best work comes in the form of collaborations, which were both fully produced by underground legend Kenny Siegel, or, of course, the number of stellar projects he's done with Elucid through their duo Arm& and Hammer. Personally, I think Brass is the cream of the crop. This was a collaboration with the insanely talented artist Moor, who frequents a variety of genres outside of just alternative hip-hop. Of course, even before the 2010s, Billy was no stranger to groups or collaborative efforts, as him and Backwoodz Studios had already been involved with a couple crews or acts that didn't ultimately pan out in the long run, like Supercron Flight Brothers or the Reavers, the latter of which actually included Vortal Mega of Cannibal Ox as a member. However, even with some of his earlier solo LPs having more of a personal and nostalgic connection to me, I think you could actually make a strong argument for Brass being the most polished and perfectly executed album in Billy Wood's entire discography. It's another great example of modern hip hop being so much more than people often make it out to be, and I see so many actual legends who are OGs who push this narrative, and it drives me crazy, especially when they ignore albums like this one. Yet we'll have the audacity to say things like, where are all the deep and poetic lyrics in today's hip hop? And all the comments will be mouth breathers responding with, oh, that's because it's all about shaking ass and killing people and hip hop is dead. I don't understand how anyone could listen to a masterpiece like this and still have that mindset, because even if their dense styles of writing go a bit over your head and there's some unorthodox flows, the music itself is extremely enjoyable despite how experimental and atmospheric it can get. This was one of those albums where for the first year or so after it had come out, it was pretty much as heavy in my rotation as it possibly could have been, and it probably was my go-to LP for whenever I wanted a rich, colorful, and informative listen full of history and ancestral trauma. There's many topics that get touched on throughout Brass, like gang activity, imperial racism, or issues with the government. And as always, both Billy Woods and Moor have a keen understanding of more trendy scenes that are popular with the youth and just more casual listeners, like drill music. Woods never goes a project without incorporating references from literature, and they start this album off on that note, with the first track being almost entirely Greek mythology themed. These two were a match made in heaven, with Wood spitting abstract lyrical fire non-stop, and Moor sounding as hungry as possible, spreading an infectious and invigorating energy onto every track. The two do an amazing job of taking a certain theme and bouncing it off of one another, with one of my favorite examples being towards the very back end of this LP, with a killer track that I kind of slept on when I first heard this LP, and then it grew on me more and more and became one of my favorites over the years, which is titled Giraffe Hunts. I want to share a handful of lines from both master poets on this track, starting with Moor, who gives us vivid imagery as always, rapping, meet Black Dirty Diana, Prancer, Stranded, 23rd Necromancer, Chancellor of the Way, Wraths of Grape, Purple Fields, Purple Haze, Devil's Prawley smoked his ransom, Candy Flip Cameo, Tongue Lash, Rattlesnake Fast Rap, I'm Stuck, Foaming Lip, Frosty, Yesterday's Spit Shine, Even When We're Looted, Loud Bombs I Think I'm Gon' Be Shootin', The Big Up Rose Up Like the Baltimore Putin, talking about ain't a damn thing moving. Then Billy takes the stage to deliver one of my favorite verses on the entire project and maybe of his in general. giving us constant gems with "The zoo had a decapitated giraffe, a dedicated staff of volunteers, the acid was bad, the gift shop was packed, Congolese hands chopped and dropped in your gift bag, seeping blood turned the gift wrap black, marrow weeping out the cracks, sweet king crab. Darwin screaming out his sleep in the dream it was a laugh though. Traffic stop, I reach for my slave pass slow. Quill and ink, brittle parchment, waved through by the sergeant. I have to share some of his final verse on here as well, because Billy was just so on top of his game for this entire song, giving us yet another set of quotable lines with, "On the train, a Maasai warrior asked for change. I said no. They were shooting bison out the same train, crack, lightning, gun smoke. Not a word, just brass pinging on the floor. Express to 42nd, deafened by the retort of the weapons. We wound through ancient burial grounds for women who went missing. Guns sound like supercars shifting. Train car black as a scorched piston. Fly agaric spores drifting. Sword slick with blood the Lord giveth." One moment from this thing that truly floored me when I first heard it is the unsettling yet really captivating second track, where the entire song concept is kind of wrapped neatly into the title, which is "The Blues Remembers Everything the Country Forgot." The oddly beautiful, more melodic sections of this track give an interesting contrast to the dark subject matter, as obviously the title is in reference to how blues music and country music might have certain similarities. But for the most part, country music was dominated and controlled by a white narrative, while the blues explicitly started from the African American slaves singing hymns to lighten the unforgivable conditions they were being forced into. Even when you don't take it literally, though, they're constantly highlighting the ongoing plight of black artists trying to preserve a painful but realistic portrayal of ancestral pain and trauma against the woes and qualms of white people who find it offensive that they aren't the focal point for 2 fucking seconds. I also have to mention the confrontational piece Gang for a Day, where Billy and Moor Mother deliver some pretty prolific food for thought. The latter of the two sets the scene with "Numb fumbling Fats Walker feel like a little girl looking up at the system like, damn, your feet's too big. Reptilian heads circling around the sun. New school like Ed Dunn, your gang sign's weak. RIP to the beatdown, I guess I'm throwing up 80 East now for the homies." As usual, Woods leaves no crumbs on the table either, saying, "Poured the whole bottle on the ground, still woozy off the beatdown. Gray meat inside the Seatown quarter key in the lost and found, along with 1,000 umbrellas, 100 mismatched gloves, one solitary shoe. Peter Sellers in the club, my black face the elephant in the room. They want to be gang for a day, we on that wire when you get waved. It's all just talk till you get paid, and even then, is what a lucid said. Don't mind me, I be hearing the voices in your head." There's a handful of Backwoodz roster members and affiliates that show up for guest appearances on here, including Wolf Weston, Imani Robinson, Amurtha Kandambi, Elucid, Fielded, Franklin James Fisher, Mac Homme, John Forte, and Navy Blue. The production on here is just amazing, and it's so seamless it feels like it could have all been done by one producer, but it's actually handled by a group of names, including Willie Green, Olaf Melander, Child Actor, Elucid Again, Steel Tip Dove, Messiah Music, Preservation, Navy Blue, The Alchemist, and Moor Mother herself. For my three favorite songs off Brass, I think I would mostly have to go with ones I already discussed, namely Giraffe Hunts, The Blues Remembers Everything the Country Forgot, and Guinness. When it comes to the honorable mentions, I narrowed it down to gems like Furies, Rapunzel, Chimney, Black Forest, Rock Cried, Scary Hours, Tiberius, and Portrait. Thank you for watching my 184th video. Next up, we have another personal favorite who shares a good amount of similarities and affiliates with these artists. So look for that upload, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what moments you love the most off what I consider arguably the best album of this decade so far. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Fuck you.
Who would do such a thing? Look, I stand in the flame of a feeling we call pain. Father's Day mug, little hand shaped in clay. Carrier planes flew overhead in pockets.